What if I told you that the best way to ensure future success as a student was not to look forward, but to look back? We've all heard of New Year's resolutions. You take some time at the end of your year to reflect on what went well, what you're proud of, and maybe also to question what didn't go so well, and you use that to inform your goals for the next year. But we don't do that for school. Somehow we think we can go into the next academic year without critically analysing our current performance as a student, the people who influence us most, what we're most proud of, maybe our bad habits, our motivation levels. And today, because I'm graduating, I am going to share the framework that I have created to properly analyse my past academic year or a past semester. And whether or not you're jumping back into education next year, I really hope this process gives you closure on the academic year you've just finished. If you have no idea who I am, hi, my name is Jade, I'm 23 and I just graduated a degree in cognitive science. Crazy, I'm a graduate. Before we jump in, I want to honour the incredible sponsor of today's video, Lingoda. For literally the last 3 years of my life, Lingoda have been super helpful to help me learn for fun, to learn outside of school, and to learn for any goals that I have related to language learning. If you've been here for a while, you've definitely heard me talk about Lingoda because they've literally changed my life. Lingoda is an online language school and they offer languages from English to business English, French, German, Spanish. I took their 3-month German super sprint before moving to Berlin, and I did their 2-month intensive super sprint in Spanish before heading to Buenos Aires. And now that I've graduated, I'm currently taking German classes again this summer. I am currently prepping for today's class, which is about how do we schedule a meeting. Wo treffen wir uns? Ich habe leider keine Zeit. Let's do it. Because I really want to improve my German and I'm considering maybe moving to Berlin, so it's going to be useful. For example, it's so important to be able to order in a restaurant and have a conversation with the waiter. And I noticed that my knowledge was getting a bit rusty. So recently I took this wonderful class where we covered all the vocabulary you can imagine on ordering drinks, how to pay, getting the bill, and we even role-played being a customer and a waiter. The class is small groups of maximum 5 people with a native speaking teacher, so it's so great you get your pronunciation corrected. And I just know that when I'm next in Germany, I will walk into that restaurant and I will order with ease. If you're interested in learning a language this summer, I highly recommend their 2-month intensive learning challenge, which is where you have a class every day or every other day, 2 months, and if you complete all the classes, you can get up to 100% of your money back. If you're looking to reach new heights in your language learning this summer, you can use my code to get €20 or $25 off. Happy learning. Okay, so you guys know I love a practical solution. It's easy to say, oh, go reflect, go do some journaling, but like, where do I start? What do I reflect about? How do I make it useful? So you know I've got you. I've got a template which is free. You can access it in the description and it's based on some literal psychological research. So I designed this Notion template based on 2 main sources. Firstly, I adapted this from the incredible Life Compass template, which is a wonderful free template that you can use to reflect on your year, like as you would with your normal New Year's resolutions. I'll leave it in the description if you're interested in having a look at it. So I really adapted that, but for academic purposes. And then I also designed this around the work of a psychologist called Professor Graham Gibbs. He is known for his Gibbs reflective cycle. Gibbs proposed a revolutionary cycle of actions that you can take to make reflection more meaningful to your life. He argues that rooting your reflection process in just one of these facets won't give you a holistic view of your life and won't make you able to implement it in a good way. So we've got to make sure our reflection covers these elements. So first it assumes that we will describe what happened factually. Who was there? What did we do? What did we study? Who was our professor? And then we start to think about how it made us feel. How did I feel in that chemistry exam? How did being friends with this person make me feel? When was I least motivated to try? And then we start to evaluate and analyse. What did I learn from this situation? How could this have been better for everyone? What skills do I need to handle this better in the future? And only then do we really start looking in the future with conclusions and action plans, which can be used to shape our goals for the next academic year or working life if you're entering postgrad like me. So I've really tried to use that with the template design. So let's get into the template. Here we've got a cute cover image. You can also change this if you want it to be more personal to you. My classic butterfly emoji because I'm all about the growth and metamorphosis. And here I've got this little how to use section, which you can remove if you download the template yourself. If you don't have Notion, you can sign up here for free as a student. And I was just explaining that this document has 2 sections. So the first part is to reflect on the academic year which has just passed, and then there's a second part which you can use to plan your next semester or next year. But if, like me, you're not going straight back into education, you can just delete that part if you don't need it. Okay, so inspired by Year Compass, we start with getting ready. You gotta mentally arrive, you gotta remove your distractions. And I really love this idea of taking a few deep breaths and sort of just coming into yourself, being ready to be honest and vulnerable with your experience of this year. Here we're really doing the describing. So what subjects did you study? Where did you study? For me, this would look like, where did I study, like geographically in the world, because I studied abroad, but it could also be the university or the school that you're at, so you can look back at this one day and just remember where you were in time. And then we're going to go through our calendar, whether you use a physical planner or you use Google Calendar. Go through it, go through week by week, and anything you see that is memorable or notable, just jot it down here. You don't really have to think too much, just put it in. So maybe this was a stressful exam you remember, maybe this is meeting your dissertation advisor for the first time. But we're really just trying to get a picture of what did this academic year look like, what did it entail? And from that description, we can start to look more deeply at a few areas of life. So what were the academic habits that defined you, good and bad? I have some years of my life where my academic habits looked like getting up at 5 a.m. to do some revision and always having my herbal tea and making my flashcards at a set time of day. But I've also had eras of life where it looks like submitting my assignment the day before the deadline or on the day of the deadline, being stressed, not getting enough sleep, not really prioritizing school as much. Whether they're good or bad, no judgment, just put them in. Motivation levels throughout the year. I always think it's interesting because often we start an academic year feeling excited, optimistic, ready for the challenges ahead, and then over time, as burnout hits us, as stress hits us, or as other priorities come up, we might feel a lot less motivated for our studies. So you can note that, maybe you had a different experience, but just describe it, maybe put your feelings in. And then we have our mental and physical health and our stress levels. So when you think about this academic year, was it mentally challenging? Was it easy? Was it fun? Did you look after your body? Did you invest in fitness? Write it in there. And up here we have relationships with teachers and professors. Did you like your teachers? Were they helpful? Then we have relationships with peers. So this can be, friendships, but kind of as they relate to your studies. So for example, I had a friend who became my accountability partner for my dissertation. And that was so useful for me every week to sit down with him and just get some work done. It can look like the people you sit next to in class and how much you find yourself talking to them or how comfortable you feel at school, all these sorts of things. Learning you did outside of school. So maybe you picked up an extra project, maybe you've watched a lot of documentaries. Just notice what kind of learning you did outside of what you had to do. And this can be very untraditional. It can be like, I did a lot of volunteering and I learned a lot about aging communities. And then your favourite subject or project or module and why, and your least favourite subject, project, module and why. Here we have some more reflections. So the best habit I had, the worst habit I had. And as you start to answer these, you just start to get a better picture of what your year looked like. Equally, some more sentences about your year. The wisest decision I made, the biggest lesson I learnt, the biggest surprise of the year. Like maybe you got a grade that you were just shocked because you didn't expect you were going to get that. The most important thing I did for others. I really like this one because maybe you mentored someone or gave them academic help or advice that they really needed. And it's amazing when we create communities in school where we feel like we can help each other. And the biggest thing I completed, maybe this is a project inside or outside of school, but just start to feel proud of yourself. We've got some more questions. What are you most proud of? Who are the 3 people who influenced you most? Who are the 3 people you influenced the most? And I don't know if you can notice, but the questions are starting to get harder in terms of they require more reflection. So, initially we just had what are some habits that defined you, but now we have what is the best thing you discovered about yourself. Then we've got some questions about your academic challenges. So, what subjects were really hard for you? What have you learned about yourself by overcoming these challenges? And of course, our accomplishments, so that we can start to see why these are valuable to us and how we achieved them so that we can do the same in the future if we want to. And then something I personally think is important and valuable to include in this is a quick reflection on our personal life outside of school, because our academic lives are so intertwined with our family life, our friends, our happiness, our fitness, our clarity on our future direction and professional development. So taking some time to really just look at these areas of life, like how much travel and fun were you having? And I find that often after this, your academic reflections make more sense. Because it's like, oh, I was actually procrastinating a lot because I was enjoying myself so much and I traveled so much, and that's also really valuable, and I shouldn't reprimand myself for finding value elsewhere in life. And then reflect on the best moments. I love this section, which is from Life Compass, which is forgiveness. So did anything happen during the past year that still needs to be forgiven? Like whether this is teachers who didn't believe in you. Maybe you can put yourself in their shoes for a second and like free yourself through forgiving them for that, and realize that you can be the one to believe in yourself and validate yourself. Or maybe you forgive yourself for not getting the grades that you initially wanted because you now recognize that you're going through other challenges or you prioritize other things. Whatever it is, just give yourself that forgiveness. It feels good. And then of course a little bit of letting go, and then you describe your year in 3 words. And then this part, guys, I want you to comment your answer to this in the comment section, because I think it would be so entertaining to see everyone's. But if a book or a movie was to be made of your past academic year, what would it be called and why? Mine would be A Tale of Two Cities and Birthing a Dissertation, the final chapter. Because I lived in Buenos Aires and Taipei, I birthed a freaking dissertation, and it's the final chapter of my uni life. So I would read that book. So yeah, have a think. What would you categorize this academic year as? And comment it down below. And then you're done with the past academic year, and hopefully you really start to feel like you've processed it and you've gained a lot of closure on what this year held for you. And you can insert a little photo of yourself here that makes you feel proud and celebratory. And then here we have the optional next section. And this is if you are going back into university, school, an academic setting, and you want to use these reflections to inform goals for your next year. You can do this now, or you can do it just before you start school. It has everything from what will you study, where will you study, what are your big dreams. So this can look like different grades or a university you want to go to, really letting yourself dream big. And then you're kind of repeating the process. So, you know, what habits do you want to define you? What learning do you want to do outside of school? And then so many beautiful questions here. I want to achieve these 3 things the most. This is why I want to achieve them. I am ready to let go of these 3 things. I will have the power to say no to these 3 things. Yeah, you can just go ahead and like complete those in your own time. I love this question, which Year Compass also has, which is a secret wish. I think we all have these secret wishes that we maybe are too scared to voice to others because of fear of judgment, or we're scared of failure, and so it's easier to not dream big. But do you have any like burning secret things that you would just absolutely love to achieve for yourself? Just write them. Why not? It's for you. And then you've got to write 1 affirmation of your own. Here are 2 of mine. I can achieve whatever I want to this year. And I am worthy of being successful and happy. Because I think sometimes we focus too much on just like a grade without thinking about, you know, contentedness and rest and relaxation and all these other things that really contribute to us being happy, sustainably productive humans. And then you can sign it to seal this contract to yourself. And that's it. I have never seen a video like this where you're really invited to intentionally reflect on your school life. But I really hope it resonates with you in some way and you can see the value in this process. You can notice habits that you want to change. You can be intentional about how you're going to change them. But you can also be like, wow, I did that, I achieved that. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Share the template with your friends. You can download it for free in the description. Check out Lingoda if you're interested in learning a language this summer, and a huge thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. My casual magic of today was just sitting and having a peaceful lunch outside in my garden. I didn't take my phone and I just kind of like listened to the cars in the background and the birds. And, you know, my dad talking, and just kind of like isolated all these sounds and found peace in the stillness of where I was. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.